God forbid you are sitting in this place saying, I don't care about legacy. You need to care about it because somebody's got to live in the life you have. You are passing something down whether you want to or not.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to the Mindset Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Sam Velasquez, and I'm super excited you are here today. If you are tuning in for the first time, as always, just know this podcast exists so we can build a firm foundation for our faith, marriage, family, and our business, and ultimately build mindset mastery across the board. And we can only do that through repetition. So whatever it is you're needing to put the reps in for, do it because it's worth it. Your faith, your marriage, your family, and your business deserve it. I'm super excited about today's episode and maybe irritated or amped in a good way, but also maybe not a good way, because irritation's fine, but not to the point where we begin to maybe spend too much time in something. But let me just kind of cut to the chase, because I've been pondering this idea of intentional growth, and better yet, why people seem to want to grow less, and they intentionally want to grow less. Now, this is a perspective, so I don't have tons of stats and or proofs or anything like that. So a lot of this is just based on experience and observation over the past several years. But I'm asking myself this question: Is it that we don't want to grow in the last, 5, 6, 7 years just random, or is it a byproduct of the last 20 to 30 years? And I think we could contend that it's a little bit of both. But my concern is simply this: when it comes to mindset mastery, when we talk about these ideas of building a firm foundation, and we talk a big game, but why is it that we don't want to intentionally grow? And I'm posing this maybe as both a concern and a warning, an alert. Hey, by the way, because heaven forbid we get lulled to sleep. I was just talking with my wife the other day and expressing this concern of, oh my goodness, I'm watching individuals and or couples or people that we know seem to not have the energy anymore. They just don't want to fight. They don't, and I don't mean like bicker or not get along. I mean, be intentional in going after something, being intentional in going after the things you feel called to go after. And I think part of it is because we want the byproduct, we want the outcome, but we don't want to have to put in the work. And I think to a certain degree, maybe culturally, we've bought into this idea that we can have something so simple or so easily without having to put in as much work. And listen, hey, not to burst your bubble or assume you don't already know this, but just in case, that is so far from the truth. And principally speaking, any normal average person would know that's not true. However, we seem to kind of be a society that thinks, well, I want something for nothing, and why would I put all this work and effort in? No, it's not worth it, right? We just kind of have this mentality. And so I want to just speak to the concept of intentional growth. And I think in order for something to, right, when we talk about growth, let me back up. Because when we talk about growth, I'm not just talking about like I want my business to grow, I want my life to grow, I'm talking about the kind of growth that requires deep digging and deep diving and becoming uncomfortable and getting out of the realm of, laziness and not being lulled to sleep with all of the things that we have coming at us in culture, in society today, right? There's so many things. When I think about all of the things I have myself involved with right now, it doesn't leave a lot of room for time wasting. It doesn't leave a lot of room for maybe certain people, right? Or certain things that would be considered just fun leisure time. And it's a season, so I'm not saying it's not a right or wrong, good or bad. It's a principle, though, that I do believe is critical to where we're at in society. And so what I'm saying is, take note, right? And here's what I've been doing personally, is taking note of my time, taking note of where am I investing time? How am I investing time? Who am I investing time in? And the time that I am investing, how profitable is it? And I don't just mean like income, money. I'm talking about, is it helping my soul? Is it helping my mindset? Is it helping me stretch and grow? Is it challenging me in a healthy way? Is it, that the concept of iron sharpens iron? Is it with people or with, it could be books, it could be courses, it could be studying, any one thing, learning something new. Is our desire to intentionally grow that stunted in society is my question. Because the truth is, I've noticed over the past several months, a lot of people that I know tend to, or we fall into a lot of the same conversations, which tells me that we don't have anything new to talk about, or we don't know what to talk about, or we're uncomfortable trying to talk about new things. And so in order to intentionally grow, I think that the key to this is we have to recognize that we're not growing to begin with. And what do I mean not growing? I mean that we are on maybe the hamster wheel. We're in just the day-to-day mundane kind of mode of thinking. I wake up, I go to work, I take a lunch break, I go back to work, I come home, maybe I work out, maybe I sit and eat dinner, I spend a little bit of time with family, and I then kind of go to sleep, and I do it all over again. It could be a lot of things, and that's a very traditional example, but I think it helps make the point, is that it's easy to just fall into that. And so my concern is that we are letting time slip by, not recognizing that we'll never get that time back. And listen, I'm not saying it's too late, because it's never too late, but we have to recognize, that our intentionality, I feel, is lessened, right? What is it that we are trying to do? Now, again, this is going to vary because, you know what, I'm a person of faith. If you've listened to any of these episodes, you've hopefully gathered that to some extent, right? I don't try to make these all just complete biblically based principle podcasts, because I want this to principally be a benefit to a greater group of people. And absolutely, though, I won't deviate from my faith in that. And so it's just a principle that we aren't meant to be lazy. We aren't meant to sit on the sidelines. We aren't meant to be sluggards. And, we use the word passivity in culture. And I think that's interesting because, yes, I don't want to be pegged as passive. But when we take that word passivity and we put it to the side for a minute, hey, listen, when it comes to the standards of, biblical living, the word passivity doesn't even show up. I think God uses words that are way worse and or degrading to my just who I want to be, right? I don't want to be pegged, as God would say, I don't want to be pegged as a sluggard or a lazy person or a slothful person. It's funny, I was talking to someone the other day about this idea that we can be slothful. Like, don't quote me on this, but sloths, by the way, interesting creatures. I believe they sleep for something crazy, like 21 hours a day. They're sleeping, and they spend the rest of the 3 hours barely moving just to feed themselves and who knows what else. But it is something crazy to that effect. And again, don't quote me, but I want to say it's something like 21 hours. They sleep, and for 3 hours, they're doing whatever they're doing, eating, barely moving, looking like a sloth. And that's what the Bible calls us, or relates, or gives us a metaphor for a lazy person, and encourages us, do not be slothful. Can you imagine? Why would we use that term? Because I think we in some sense have gone to sleep in a metaphorical way. We are sleeping more than we are awake. Even in our natural awake stages, we're sleeping. And I guess, what is my point of this podcast? What is the point today? I'm ranting a little bit, but it's important because the challenge is, are you or are we or am I intentionally growing? Or better yet, am I intentionally desiring to grow? And I hope the answer is yes for all of us, because growth is unlimited. It never ends. There's always something for us to learn. There's always something for us to refine. There's always something for us to continue to put reps into. Again, whether that's your business, a relationship, your marriage, your family, your faith, we always need to be putting in reps. But if we don't have the desire to intentionally want to grow and recognize why we should want to intentionally grow, that's an issue. And once we do want to intentionally grow, we have to begin to recognize and take, stock or note of all of the things that are around us that may not be helping us intentionally grow. And this is the take-home message, maybe. This is the harder part of this monologue that I'm putting on this podcast. When we're around people or reading books or watching television or movies or whatever it may be, whatever we're ingesting in any form, whether it's through a conversation with a person, through reading a book, watching social media, whatever it is we're bringing in, we have to ask ourselves, is this helping me intentionally grow? Or is it just me taking in information in a state of mind that is essentially gone to sleep? And I'm just now taking in information that's mostly meaningless. It is not going to help me grow. It is not going to help me get from point A to point B. It's not going to change my bank account. It's not going to help me get a new job. It's not going to help me start my entrepreneurial journey. It's not going to make my marriage better. It's not going to, right? And I could go on and on and on. It's not going to increase the quality of my relationships, because it's just the same old stuff that is not going to make a difference in our lives. And so we have to intentionally, again, take stock of what is it that I am eating or ingesting. Yes, physically eating too, but I mean more metaphorically. What am I taking in on a daily basis that I'm feeding my body, I'm feeding my mind? And is it helping me intentionally grow? If it is not, man, let's cut that stuff off. And it's not because it's wrong in the sense of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that. That's bad or it's sinful. No, I mean, it just does not provide any value in regards to us growing and becoming more of who it is, I believe, and hopefully you believe, God's created and called you to be. Instead, we're neglecting it because we're just ingesting the same thing. And again, it's like a loop in music, right? It just plays the same thing over and over and over. It's like one song that's on repeat. I don't know if you've ever listened to, music before. We use Spotify, but there's times where almost in my subconscious, like a song's on repeat or is on repeat, and I don't notice it until like the third time through, and I'm like, what? Gosh, is the same song playing over and over and over? It's because my subconscious is so used to it. I'm not even consciously aware of the fact that that's the third time, maybe the fourth time it's played, before I'm like, oh wait, why are we listening to the same song over and over and over? And that's my point. What is it, or where is it, that we may be unaware that we have completely fallen asleep while in an awake state, because we've become so used to our environments and the things we're ingesting, and not even recognizing they're not helping or contributing to our growth at all. And so if we want to intentionally grow, again, make the necessary shifts, make the necessary, cutoffs maybe, right? That's a tough thing. But listen, you got to have your own conviction. But I believe that there are just maybe movies, music, television shows, it could be sports, it could be actual people, it could be a workplace environment, it could be a career shift, because it is just time to, sorry for the motorcycle in the background if it got picked up, but it's just time to cut some things off that are just not going to, nor will they ever help your intentional growth. And we have to decide for ourselves, and have a conviction to say, you know what, I desire to intentionally grow, and I'm going to make the necessary changes. Now remember, I can't change sports, I can't change the television show, I can't change the movies or the music, and I can't change the people, but I can change my behavior. And so that's where it starts. Make the necessary changes in your behavior, in your life, if you are wanting to see more intentional growth, and take stock of where it is. You may be sleeping where you are awake and have no awareness of just where you're at in life. And I know that's challenging. I don't mean it to be a dig or to be a condemnation or anything like that, but it is to say, hey, we need to wake up and we need to intentionally grow. And when we do, we will begin to tolerate less and less and less of the silly things I think we've tolerated for way too long that are causing us to just be stagnant, dormant, and essentially slothful. So, hey, I know that's not super encouraging maybe, but it's necessary. And again, as always, if we want to build mindset mastery, if we want to build a firm foundation for our faith, marriage, family, and businesses, we need to take a self-assessment and really dive into this idea of, where am I asleep? Where do I need to wake up so I can intentionally grow and go, build and conquer and do all the things that God has for me. You guys, as always, check out those show note links below. Sign up for that free email I put out every week. And hey, if you're ready to jump on a coaching call and you just need some encouragement or some guidance on what direction you may want to head or not certain of where that is, hey, sign up for a free coaching call. I'd love to connect with you. But you guys, as always, Coach Velasquez here with the Mindset Mastery Podcast, and we will see you on the other side. Peace.
God forbid you are sitting in this place saying, I don't care about legacy. You need to care about it, because somebody's got to live in the life you have. You are passing something down whether you want to or not.